welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales. And today, my guest is Cristina. Thank you so much, Cristina, for being with me today. How are you?
Hi, nice to be here, Mariam. And hi, everybody listening. I'm Cristina Souto Caviglia, and I'm leading the 3D design team for Boss inside Hugo Boss.
Amazing. Okay, well, I think it is really interesting to see how digital transformation generally is happening in fashion world, right? But anything before we will start about your experience or like about the stuff that you would like to mention about yourself?
So, there's a lot to cover today. As you said, digital transformation in the fashion industry is quite a hot topic right now. It is in the talks. It's one of the industries that now it's really
Right.
digitalizing a lot. And with all the new technologies incoming, it's a big revolution that all companies are going through right now. Personally, I'm a digital enthusiast, so happy to be here and happy to get on with the conversation and to give the people some insights.
Perfect. Okay, let's start from the simple question about digital transformation. So, what are these words for you?
A lot, because for sure, in fashion, digital transformation usually refers to the fact of how fashion is created. It really means, back in the time, we went from pen and pencil and sketching, and then from there to a product, to then having some technology with the welcoming of computers where, you had programs like CAD programs where you could already then like sketch digitally, into now having like full pipelines where we can create really digital garments that are digital twins and really move away from like the need of even like having physical products. For me though, I have to say that beyond that like technical definition, I think it has a lot to do also with culture, how we are innovating
Yeah,
as individuals, but also as organization.
yeah,
And it really has to do with having that strategic mindset of like really being always looking on the forward of what are the new technologies that benefit us, how we can implement them, and in the end, how we can be better at what we do using those technologies.
yeah, agree. So, you use the word innovation, and I think for digital transformation, generally, for companies out there, digital transformation is actually kind of equal to the using the innovative things and being generally innovative in a lot of spheres. So, do you think that with digital shift or digital transformation, for your field, for example, there are specific stages through which the organization can go through when we are speaking about that change happening?
Yes, there's really a lot of stages. I definitely would say that I think generally speaking, four stages are like we could solve it in like kind of four stages. And I would say like the first stage always starts with having like, a handful amount of enough of crazy people inside an organization with a great idea and wanting to build something from there. Um, it starts with a very small amount of people having this like really powerful dream of building
Yep.
something, into going through a second stage of maybe having a bit of a more strategic and organized evolution of a strategy. It starts to have a more defined pipeline, and maybe even establishing some sort of workflow for a
Yeah.
general company standards, into the third phase when we're really then, full hands on. Everybody likes the idea. Everybody's trying to get into the idea, get into these new workflows, and then really becomes, it's not a transformation anymore, I would say at that point. At that
Yeah.
point is when like that becomes the bread and butter of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth stage, which I would also say it's a bit of a utopical stage because I personally don't think it ever gets there because for sure fourth stage is about, everything is done, we're digitally transformed, and hey, we
Mm-hmm.
can up. Um, but I have to say that I don't think that stage really exists because by the
Okay.
time that you've done some, like you've transformed a part of the business, then there's always new that comes up, and then there's always new that needs to be transformed in that sense. So I do think that it's really not like a linear path of like, okay, we're going from
Right.
here, but it's rather like a circle where
Yeah.
we're always, finding a better thing and innovating and
Mhm.
finding a better thing and implementing.
Yeah, agree definitely. And I think a lot of people, when we are saying digital transformation, or generally when we are speaking about improvements, they think that it is one-time job or
Yeah.
one-time thing to do. But as you mentioned, and based on my experience as well, I would say that it is exactly the circle, like the process that is never ending, because the improvement, it continues, right? So when we speak about improving or like digitalizing stuff, it's definitely something that is going like parallel with the technology that is developing, processes that can change, the requirements and expectations from customers that
Yeah.
obviously are pushing us to continue being innovative. Is there any way how we can basically understand the areas or the processes that can be digitalized from first sight, for example? For example, in your field. So it's very different from me,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say that I imagine that field at all. But are there any areas that are commonly needing this improvement of being digitalized?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say that I think everything that has to do with like product creation, it's one of the things that can like that benefits from digitalization the most, because that's also
Mhm.
where the most complex process relay. And that's I think always a bit the benefit for sure. For sure digitalizing an easy process or an easy workflow is a possibility, but your biggest benefits will not come from that because it was easy already. So I think the main benefit, and I think where it should all start is finding those processes that are very complex, that have a lot of interfaces, a lot of stakeholders. They're hard to get on with,
Mhm.
and those are usually the things that are the easy, like the things that will benefit most from digitalization. In our case, is really product creation. I
Mhm.
think really that switch of having the possibility of really having like a digital garment, like a
Yeah.
360 digital garment, and that it's a digital twin, really revolutionized and created that domino effect
Yeah.
um for a lot of other parts then to start to be digitalized.
And what do you think about people being involved in this digitalization? For example, for your field, is it like very specific, or it's just as in other fields that how people are involved, or you need specific, I would say, like people with specific experience in order to make digitalization happen?
I think it varies. There's a lot of nuances, especially when we're talking about like really big organizations where there's a lot of options. For sure, there are certain parts and like certain topics where specialists are needed. And we also see also the rise of like new positions and the creation of new titles in the fashion industry, like 3D
Yeah.
designs and 3D artists. It's also funny enough, I've been in a couple conferences not so long ago about how also, a lot of people that were maybe traditionally in other industries like VFX and gaming
Mhm.
are now, bringing their knowledge of digital into the fashion industry. So a lot of this
Yeah.
exchange happens. But for a lot of other things, it's just, development and knowledge that can happen within one individual. And sometimes it is about maybe learning a new tool or learning a new software. But a lot of other times it's just about like mentality,
Mhm.
um, really like shifting perspective.
Yes, agree. And when speaking about resource that is needed and general about like technology that there is, do you think that there are common challenges that are coming with digitalization, specifically in your field?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not sure. Maybe we can discuss about this, but I do
Mhm.
think that people like changing people's minds is the hardest part.
Right,
Might
agree.
seem sometimes a bit redundant, and you think, well, maybe, learning a really complex software that was not there before and that has like 1,000 functionalities is
Mhm.
the hardest part. But actually, that's not the truth. Like, really, like changing people's minds is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit like always when you change something, and that goes also, I think, beyond the professional environment. Like when you change
Mhm.
something in general, there will always be people that are really prone to that
Yeah.
change, but there'll always be people that are really against change and they're really like, getting out of the comfort
Mhm.
zone. It's something that it's really a struggle for them. So bringing those people with you, it's one of the hardest things I would say for me.
Yes, agree. I think, general, when we are speaking about digital transformation, I usually mention this that the communication is the major part if you
Yes.
want to do it on a high quality. And specifically with people that have this resistance, I think it usually comes because of not being communicative enough or like not being transparent enough. And specifically with digital transformation, a lot of people think that it is there for replacing human beings in the world, but it's not like that for me, at least, because usually when I'm always saying this, people that are, for example, afraid of AI and being replaced because of AI, it's not that they will be replaced just because like it's doing their work. No, they will be replaced if they will stay in their place, right? Without like developing themselves, learning new stuff, learning AI, for example, and making the maximum use of it. After that, I think they will be very confident that no one is going to replace them with some technology that still needs years to develop.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I always make this parallelism that it's like, I think AI is bringing like a new industrial revolution. And, if you think about how the history went in the past, once, before computers were invented, I think none of us too, would have ever, if we were born
Exactly.
in that day and age, none of us would imagine that we would have the job we have today. But
Yeah.
yet we were born in this generation, and it's one of the most like normal and common things for us to have this job.
Mhm.
So for sure, I think one of the points that I think everybody should be thinking of and focusing on, it's also on all the career opportunities that are going to open. Because for sure, there will be jobs created that even today we cannot foresee what those jobs will be because only the
Yeah.
time will tell us. But I think that's when also that mindset part comes, which is people should really have that correct mindset um to really welcome this change, especially when we talk AI. I think when we talk about different things, maybe it's a bit different, but AI
Yeah.
definitely no power to stop it. That revolution is happening, whether we like it or not. So I think it's also up to people to have the right mentality and
Yes.
capacity to adapt to that technology and bring
Mhm.
value within that technology.
Yes, agree. And speaking about the technology and generally about the AI, are there any key lessons learned for you from your experience that, for example, like anything that was related to digital transformation and you learned on your mistake, for example?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest lesson I learned is nothing is as easy as it seems.
Okay.
You don't want to know the amount of times we said, there's a problem.
Right.
This could be a solution. Easy, easy, right? We can make this solution.
Mhm.
That was actually not the case. After 2 months, you look again, and it's like, oh, but this problem is still here. We did the solution. Why is this problem still here? And
Yeah.
then you start to talk to one person, and you start to talk to another person, and you start to talk to another person, and you realize that what you thought was a simple problem, it's five different nuances of a problem. So now
Mhm.
instead of one solution, you already need to start to think about five nuances for that solution.
Exactly.
And scaling, for sure. Now I just gave like a very little example to put it in context. But when you think of
Mhm.
scaling it to a large organization, it becomes really complex processes.
And expensive.
Yes, absolutely. Usually price tag is higher than you always think. That's another lesson learned. But most importantly, I think not all is negative. There's also a lot of
Mhm.
really good learnings on how sometimes you even may end up with better solutions and better outputs that you thought at the beginning. So
Yeah.
that's also something really, really positive on thinking, hey, maybe sometimes you thought you were going to get here and you end up getting here. And that's really, really also
Yeah,
satisfactory.
agree. I think generally when we are speaking about digital transformation, it's good to have first lessons learned. If you have any like
Yeah.
processes or anything that you learned before, just register it somewhere or like keep it somewhere so you can come back to it saying, okay, we tried to improve this process, we learned this, maybe we will not do the same mistake next time.
Um,
And the same goes with the experts that can help actually. Like, I don't know if it is a company, if it's a consultant, a person that was in that field, etc. So I think going asking about like giving right questions is really helping when we speak about digital transformation and
yeah.
generally like about the lessons learned there. And we spoke about AI and the technology. So let's come back to that part. What do you think are the technologies from your field that are helping you with digitalizing stuff? Are there any tools, platforms?
Course. I mean, I think for us, AI for sure is so beneficial. And I have to say, even though in a lot of contexts, AI is very feared, I think specifically in fashion and specifically in people that were working heavily on digital transformation for digital fashion, we're all so happy to have AI. Because one thing that a lot of people may not realize is that sometimes digitalization doesn't mean quicker or faster from the
Hmm.
get. So what happened with fashion is the digitalization of the processes didn't necessarily make them easier or less manual.
Yeah.
Because for sure, there is a certain labor needed to build a garment. There is also a certain labor needed to build a digital garment, which is not easy. It's not simple. It requires time. So really, AI is helping us build that bridge,
Yeah.
really get the best out of the digital transformation. So I have to say, uh, I think in fashion where we have a bit of a different understanding when it comes to AI, and it's
Hmm.
actually a really positive thing. I would say probably it's one of the like coolest thing that has happened in the past 5 years. Um, because definitely now we can create so much in so little time that it's great.
Yeah, yeah, agree. I think when first thing that I noticed in fashion general that I'm aware of are these virtual dresses that now people can just like check on them and see how it fits, etc. And general, like I would say, even online shopping, if we are speaking about like that, you can try the glasses on you,
Yeah,
you can see how it fits, etc. So I mean, all that is about digitalization, right? It's about the
absolutely.
technology, the innovation that is coming with it, and how it is developing through the years, and that like basically fashion is in IT sphere as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny how sometimes, I'm in certain talks or in certain topics and I'm like, I was a fashion designer not so long ago. Like, how am I knowing all this
Yeah.
terminology? I'm closer to IT right now than something else,
Hmm.
but it's really interesting regardless. And as you said, I think the outputs are really like insane. I mean, from like really like immersive experiences to virtual reality to everything that happens in the e-com. Really interesting moment for fashion and especially digital fashion.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I think, not even what's happening right now, what's coming in the future. I think it's even more interesting because maybe other industries have been through this path already for some years,
Hmm.
automotive, the,
Right.
architecture, they're a bit older to
Yeah,
digitalization than we
of
are.
course.
So I think when it becomes the industry becomes a bit more mature, it's going to be an even more exciting place to be at.
And we all need to keep going with it,
Oh
just
yeah,
not stop it somewhere, right? Amazing.
absolutely.
Okay, and as a last official question, I would like to ask you about the suggestions that you will or you would like to share with our audience. Anything that you think is important for other people to know about digital transformation in your field that will help them.
Yes. I mean, in general, if anybody listening here is going through a digital transformation, either in their organization or they're pushing for one, resilience. Resilience is definitely a word to keep in mind because things are not going to go your way the first time. Things are not going to go your way the second time. Maybe the third, if you're lucky. But I think it's important to never lose sight of what really matters and what really is the goal and what your idea is. And especially, like if you're convinced that that's the right thing, keep on pushing to do it. For sure, you should have enough data and research to prove that that idea is correct and
Right.
it's right. Not also creating ideas just because that's also maybe one important point to balance. For sure, we all have dreams, but we need to also be tangible into what we want to build. So making a lot of research is really, really important. Speaking to stakeholders, as we were saying, communication is key, not for
Yes.
transformation, for really everything in life, but really speak to as many people as you can. Ask for what their issues are. Think on how you solve their issues, how you can solve their problems. That's how you also then will win the people quicker and bring them on your side. And maybe lastly, an advice would be start small and gradually scale. Don't try to build a house from the roof because it will definitely take something, within your circle of influence, small, even if it might seem insignificant, but start there and then go to the next step and then the next one and then the next one and organically bring that digital transformation. I have to say, in my experience, especially when it comes to the very beginning of digital transformation,
Mhm.
everything that is bottom up tends to work really great.
Yeah.
So really everything that comes, like from the bottom of the hierarchy of the organization and like really rises up.
Mhm.
Once you have, let's we can say maybe like when you're in phase 2/3, when you will then involve higher management and then start top down and really have a global like aligned top line strategy. I have the feeling that in my experience that's usually like the winning card.
Yes, agree. Definitely agree with everything that you've said. And it was almost like a summary for this podcast. That's amazing. Awesome. Any last words, Christina, before we will wrap up this episode? Anything you would like to share with the audience?
So I'll just like to thank you for having me and giving me the space to speak about digital transformation because I'm always also a big passionate of it. And thank you everybody for tuning in and listening.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Bye.